Hello. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the stream today. Guten Tag, me Freuzens. And welcome to another deck tech. We're gonna be looking at more magic cards because I like doing this. This is my little comfort stream. Something where I just kind of be a little cathartic. Is it cathartic? No, not cathartic, is it? I can be a little bit selfish and show off more of my hobbies other than playing video games. So, anywho, today, hang on, there we go. Making sure, because like, I got the Nintendo Mii's. I actually have another soundtrack in the background that I want to play a little bit later. I might switch to it midstream, we'll see. It's the 24 Killers OST, and that's a game you haven't played yet. I 1000% recommend it. It's a very interesting isometric puzzle game, I guess. Very good adventure game, at the very least. I know it's an adventure game, but I recommend it. Good game. Pretty short, like maybe a 2+ hour game. Good story. Good story. Amazing soundtrack. That's my favorite part. So we'll probably switch to that relatively soon. Anywho, who are we talking about today? Today we're talking about Spacegodzilla. And before we get into the actual deck proper, I just want to show you the accessories I have. As you can hear, I got a lot of accessories in this deck. I got a lot of dice. So yeah, this is the Game Genic. I forget which one this one is. What is it? The Game Tower? No. What is it? The Sentry? No. I forgot what this Game Genic deck box is called. It's a deck box. It holds your deck and dice. And as you can see, I already have I have another deck box in here that holds the commander. But here are the dice. If for those of you interested, which I don't imagine a lot of people are actually interested in dice, but in case you were, I believe these are Krakens. Yeah. These, I forget which ones these are. There we go. Wow. There we go. Check that out. Love these. I believe, am I remembering this right? I think we painted this. I think we painted this one here. Because I believe these were blanks that they sold. They sell like unfinished dice. So we got the paint and just colored them in. And they actually look really good. They're a little bit sharp, so that's kind of what gives it away that these are unfinished dice that they sold. They sell them for a lot cheaper. So if you're actually interested in dice, like if you're interested in unique dice, but don't have the finances to actually like support your addiction, I would recommend Kraken. Sometimes they'll sell unfinished dice, and all you have to do is just paint in the colors and you'll save like 10-15 bucks, I think. Really good. Awesome. They're I was about to give out more information about Kraken, but giving out more information would give out more information about me. But they're a company that I personally like a lot. I will occasionally see them in LGSs and local LGSs, and I always feel good. I always feel good when I see them hanging around. So support your local dice makers, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. On top of that, I got these dinky little counters that came with the deck, I believe. Well, with the precon back in Ikoria, these were little things that came with the precon, and they're pretty solid. Like as you can tell, they've held up. Even though I hate using them, they've held up through these years. I've lost a whole bunch of them. That's why there's not a ton. I really want to get the keyword dice that I've seen. I believe either Game Genic or Ultra Pro. One of the two accessory makers make counter dice or keyword dice, and I want to buy those because those are just more convenient to have. But those are my dice. Kraken, I like them a lot. And then here is the deck box in the deck box. So yeah, this is the Ultra Pro or Ultra Guard. Ultra Pro Ultra Guard deck box. This is the 100+, I believe. And it was by accident that we found out that these two work perfectly together. As you'll see, I do this to all my other decks now. Because before, these came with like a little tray, with a little like slide-in tray that used to just sit in here. But as you can tell, I removed that to put this in there because the little tray that they added in, basically, I'll show you what it essentially just looks like this. Like This is what their tray looked like. This, but with like a cloth finish. And the deck would just sit in there like that, which not a problem. There's nothing wrong with that. My issue is that my decks are double sleeved and they were just a little too tight where they would start like pinching the cards and I would notice a little seam line across my cards. So I decided to switch over to the boulders. And I'm really happy. I'm super happy with the switch. It was by accident. I just happened to have some boulders and they ended up fitting really well. And yeah, so I believe that's all the accessories I have in the deck. There we go. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to put everything back when you have 2 deck boxes in one. So, but I like it. So, what are we talking about? What is this deck? What am I showing you today? Why have you wasted my time? Damn it. Why are you wasting my time? Well, I'm wasting your time because I have a commander named Spacegodzilla. This is probably, honestly, last time when I did the Bellacore deck, I was talking about how I'm going to do them in sequential order. And this is probably, if I had to sell a deck, it would be very hard to sell this one, but this would be one of the ones I would sell. But in that same breath, this is probably my favorite deck. Honestly, this is so cool. The thing is, like, there's no real sentimental value with this deck other than I like Spacegodzilla. I think the cards in this deck are cool and I love playing this deck. I think Mutate is not like a super loved mechanic. I don't think it's the worst mechanic anymore. I think it used to be the worst mechanic, but then the initiative got introduced and what were the other ones? Stickers got introduced and then all of a sudden this wasn't so bad to fight against. But I really like the Mutate mechanic. I think it kind of turns Magic into like a different card game, which is fun when you can bring some, like, a little bit of spice to the deck. With that said, this deck has been souped up. There's a lot going on in here. And a very similar situation as the last one where this deck is kind of like overjuiced for what it's trying to do. And it doesn't always win, but it wins a good chunk of the time. I would say, like, if Bellacore won if it won like 4 out of 10 games, this one probably wins about 5 or 6, about 6 games out of 10. This will win me a game because it's really built like to be resilient. This is a very resilient deck. It's designed to be a Voltron commander, but making sure that the commander doesn't actually leave the field and just bullies you for the rest of the game. It does good. It does good. I like the deck. I think the cards in here are pretty strong. And the deck restrictions are pretty simple. Basically, buy as many Godzilla cards as you can get your hands on. Buy as many of the Ikoria Showcase cards as you can that fit in this color that are good. And then basically just run wild. There's a theme as well. Like, obviously when you build a Mutate commander, you're going to add a Mutate card. You're going to add things to mutate onto. And ultimately there's kind of like a known strategy for Mutate commanders like this. But outside of those parameters, the main restrictions are buy cool Showcase Ikoria cards, buy cool Godzilla cards, and put them in the deck and have fun. So that's why this deck exists, and it's one of my favorite. I don't plan on selling this one, but in the lineup, this would be like the 3rd deck to get sold if I had to sell it for, like, I don't know, student loans or for a house down payment. There's not that much money in this. There's not enough money to be a down payment in here, but there's some good money, which I'm more than happy to show you what it looks like. So, okay, good. You can't see the you can't see the deck, so no spoilers. Anyways, who the hell is this guy? See if we can actually take a look. BioQuartz Spacegodzilla. What is it? What is the actual name of him? Brokos Apex of Forever. That's right. A really ugly commander. The original art is ugly. The showcase is pretty ugly, but the fact that there's a Spacegodzilla version immediately makes it probably the best commander. There's also a bunch of other ones that are Godzilla themed commanders. This is just the one that I like the most. And what does he do? So he's 5 mana. He is, what is this color combo? It is why do I not know this? It has escaped my brain. Simic, it is Simic Ugari. I don't remember. I forgot the Triomes. I forgot what the Triomes were called. I'm sure I will remember after the stream is over, but it's a 3-color deck. It is 5 mana to cast. However, you don't cast it for its mana cost. You actually cast it for its mutate. Mutate is a mechanic that I will get into when I see a card that has the word and the description of mutate onto it. Because it's a little hard to explain. Basically, you take a creature, and if you mutate this, you can either put it on top or bottom, and then it will get the stats of the cards on top, and then it will get the effects, the added effects of the card underneath. So that's kind of like a crash course into mutate. It's fun. I like it. So this has trample, and you may cast this card from your graveyard using its mutate ability. So this is pretty sticky. This is not really going to go anywhere. I don't recommend. You could throw this into your graveyard, and your opponent would have to exile it to make sure it gets back to the command zone. So really, if you really wanted to, you could keep this going without ever accumulating commander attacks, which is pretty nice. It makes it very resilient in a game, because then your opponents have to waste more materials to get rid of it. And by the time they waste an exile spell, you just throw it back into the command zone and you're all Gucci. So really sticky commander, really like him a lot. And what are we gonna look at first? Well, I will let you know once I figure out what the cards are. We're gonna look at target removal, I believe. Yeah, that's what this is. So here's the target removal of the deck. This is basically gonna make sure that the way is cleared and that I don't have to worry about, you know, annoying things. And as you can see, this is Beast Within, but this is the poster one. That if you remember from the last deck, I had the Blasphemous Act version. This is the Beast Within version. So what is Beast Within? It is a 2 generic, 1 green. It's let's see. Okay, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. There you go. Super. It can be hard to read, but thankfully, not only do I remember, but the majority of people remember how this card works. So don't normally have to explain it to people, thankfully, because gosh, reading those cards can be really difficult. And next one is Lyconic Rift. We talked about this in the last one. This is an okay target removal. This is a much better board wipe. So I put it in the target removal area because sometimes it can be target removal, but I will normally use it as a board wipe. Here's Deadly Rollick, showcase version. Very nice. We also talked about this card in the last one, where if you have your commander out, you get to destroy exile target creature. Very nice art. Oh boy. Here's one of the first cards we run into where the restrictions of the deck make themselves very known. So for both of our convenience, I will pull up the Arca deck and quickly tell you what this creature is. This is a bat. I think it's Dredge Bat, if I remember right. But for the sake of transparency, I will make sure you all know what the name is. This is Batra Dark Destroyer Dredge Bat. Yep. This is a it has mutate of 4, 5, 6. It has 6 mutate. Make sure the card is actually on screen. No. So I'll give you a little bit of history. Some of these cards, when Arcoria came out, they decided to release some of the Godzilla cards in Japanese, I believe. So that's why this doesn't have an English version. There is an English version of Dredge Bat. There is not an English version of Destroya. It has Flash and Flying, and whenever this creature mutates, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. And that is what this card does. This is mostly here because it's a Godzilla card and it looks sick. I don't think any of us can deny that. And here's our next one. This is Agnes. Angris? Angris. This one's a really hard one to pronounce. Agnes Armored Killer. It is also known as Gem Razor. Gem Razor, this is actually like a pretty decent budget removal card. If you want to run like a non-traditional removal package, I actually really recommend this card because you can mutate for 3 mana. This has Reach and Trample. Whenever this creature mutates, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. So really good. Because let's say you want to get rid of a soul ring. This will not only get rid of a soul ring, but now it presents a body on the field. So all of a sudden, you got a pretty big body for getting rid of something small. It's basically nature's claim on steroids. So if you want to run a higher creature base, I would recommend Gem Razor. And it also looks really cool. It's a sick card. And this is nature claim. This is sort of like the old reliable blue removal spell or green removal. It's a instance, destroy target artifact or enchantment, its controller gains 4 life. For 1 green mana, that's a very easy trade. So no reason not to eat your veggies. Gotta enjoy that. Pouncing Shore Shark. This is a really fun one. And honestly, like, looking at the showcase versions of the Ikoria cards, they look so sick. We haven't really returned to this art style in a very long time, and I'm very sad about it because it looks so good. This is like this, you know how people are saying like Magic doesn't look like Magic anymore? This is kind of like when that started, in my opinion, because these are just so out of left field, but they're so well done. Like the rendering and the illustrations are so nice. I really enjoy this art style for Magic. And then what does this card do? It's a Shark Beast. It has Mutate for 4. It has Flash, which is really, really, really good. Having Flash gives you like the access to an instant speed. So an instant speed, you can, whenever this creature mutates, you may return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So if your opponent, well, I'm trying to think. If your opponent wants to play something like, I don't know, something you don't like. If your opponent has a creature that you don't like and it's about to swing into you, you can Flash Mutate this onto your creatures and basically just remove it. Oh man, what is this? Is this Donkey Kong? Let's freaking go. Maybe not so loud. Maybe a little bit louder. Oh. How's that? That's not too bad. But yeah, there is Pouncing Shore Shark. Awesome looking card, really good removal. Here's one I'm not too crazy about, but it's like too good to let it pass up. So I choose to just run it. This is Sawtooth Demolisher. It has Mutate for 3 and green. Here we go. We can actually read what Mutate does. So I can give you the official translation of what Mutate does. So if you cast the spell for its Mutate cost, put it over or under target non-human creature you own. They mutate into the creature on top plus all the abilities from under it. Hopefully I read that correctly. Hopefully that was understandable. Because do I have like just a regular creature to show you? No, I don't. But yeah, mutate on top of or below something, and depending on what's on top, it gets the normal effects plus its stats. And then if you're mutating underneath, it just gets the effect of the creature. So super relevant. I really like mutate cards. What does this do? Trample. It has whenever this creature mutates, destroy target non-creature permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. So this is like Beast Within, but as a creature. And you're getting a trampling 6/6 body on top of removing whatever they had. So super cool. I really like this. It obviously this doesn't have flash, so it's sorcery speed. You can do this stuff. But really good card. I love the mechanic of mutate. As you'll see, you know what it reminds me of? Honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. It reminds me of Digimon. It's a little bit like Digimon playing mutate because you're having to like you're creating a stack of like 1 or 2 monsters, and you're bashing into your opponent with them. So that's one reason why I like mutate. Mutate's a really fun ability. It can get complicated for some people, but I understand. So I don't play this deck a lot, but I do enjoy playing it. An offer you can't refuse is my protection spells package. I think there's only like 5 in here. So we talked about this. It's a counter spell, but it gives your opponent 2 treasures. Worthwhile trade. I would recommend it. Fierce Guardship, free counter spell. Never leave home without one if you can get one. Shielding Plaques. So Shielding Plaques is actually a pretty cool card. It's a 3 mana, so it can either be green or blue, and then 2 generic. It's an enchantment aura. So enchant creature, when enchanted creature, when this comes into play, draw a card. So it immediately replaces itself in your hand, which is really nice. I wish more cards could do that. And then enchanted creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. So that's essentially hexproof, which means that your opponent, exactly what it said, your creature can't be targeted by spells or abilities your opponent controls. So that's hexproof. And this is just really good lightning greaves, or Swiftfoot Boots, I believe. Swiftfoot Boots, but it replaces itself as soon as you play it. So awesome card. Swang Song is very similar to an offer you can't refuse. Counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird token with flying. Really good. If you want to get rid of like a black market connections, you just give them a bird. Any other big like haymaker spell, you just give them a 2/2 bird. Never bad to run with. Swiftfoot Boots, here's the card I was talking about. So 2 mana, 1 to equip. Equip creature has hexproof and haste. The haste part is probably more relevant, because you know it's kind of like a toss-up. Honestly, I would prefer a card to replace itself in hand, but haste is really good, especially like you throw something out, you throw something down, and then you give it haste. It could just immediately attack. So, without a doubt, that's not something to like sneeze at. All right, man, the volumes are all over the place with this soundtrack. There we go. I'll bring it back down. Watch me bring it down after like an hour. Black Sun Zenith. This card shockingly jumped up in price. Don't know exactly why. So say X2 black. Black Sun Zenith sorcery. Put X -1 counters on each creature. Shuffle Black Zenith into its owner's library. So it's a poor man's version of Toxic Deluge. Instead of paying life, you're paying mana. However, this will immediately just put itself back into your library, so you never really have to worry about this not showing up again. It's not like it's gone forever. It'll always work its way back into your deck. So that's why I like it. This version is actually pretty cool. This didn't cost a ton. It was like $8 originally, but I think it's shot up since then, which always happy when that happens. Here's something you will normally see. If you're fighting someone with mutate and they have blue in their colors, you can guarantee without a shadow of a doubt they have this card in their deck. Just without question, they have this card in their deck. Like, I will not believe any other reason. So Cephalopod Constable, I believe. Cephalid Constable, actually. So it's a 3 mana creature. And whenever this deals combat damage to a player, return up to that many target permanents that player controls to their owner's hands. So this is starting to bounce stuff. You're bouncing stuff back to your opponent's hands. Target permanent, so it can be any permanent on the field. And I believe you get to choose. Your opponent doesn't choose. Yeah. So the reason why this is pretty bad, because it's a 1/1, right? Like, if this thing manages to actually hit your opponent, so what? You bounce a land. You bounce something dumb back to their hand. Not a big deal. However, now we're going to start getting into the strategy of the deck, where if you mutate on top of this, all of a sudden, your Godzilla, you have trample, you're 6/6, and now you're bouncing stuff back to your opponent's hands. Like 6 things back to your opponent's hands. That is that is why this deck is so annoying to fight, because it has stuff like this in there. So one of the first signs of the strategy actually working. Here's an interesting one. What is it? Invasion of Fiora. This is one of the new types. It's the Battle Siege. Well, it's a battle. And the idea of these is you're supposed to, when you cast a battle, you... Come on. Can we get our focus back down here? See if we can get it to... Come on, stupid. Hello? Hello? Please. I got my hands. I'm on my knees begging to please bring back the focus. There we go. So yeah, so the idea is that Invasion of Flora battles, essentially you play them on their battle side, which is the siege side. You cast it, you give it to the opponent, and then you and the other opponents can attack this card instead of attacking that opponent. It's very strange, and sometimes it works mostly because chances are you're the only one who's going to hit the battle, so realistically no one else is going to help you, because what's behind here is actually pretty cool. So what does it do? So you play this. When it enters the battlefield, choose one or both. Destroy all legendary creatures or destroy all non-legendary creatures. So this is our board wipe. It's going to basically just destroy everything. That's normally what I do. And then it has a 4 battle counter. I don't know what these counters are called. It has 4 of them. Basically, this is the life of the card. So if you can hit this thing for 4, you get to flip it back onto your field. Keep in mind. So what's the point of running a battle? Why am I even bothering trying to use one of these things? These things are terrible. No one plays them anymore. Well, it's because it is Marchesa. Marchesa's on the side, the Resolute Monarch. It's a legendary creature, human noble, and it has Menace and Death Touch. Whenever this creature attacks, remove all counters from up to one target permanent. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you haven't been dealt combat damage since your last turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So it has some kind of like monarch built into it. Monarch, you know, quote unquote monarch. But realistically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the first ability off. And the first ability removes counters from any permanent, which, why would you want to remove stuff? Why would you remove a vigilance counter? Why would you remove 1+1 counters on something? That's not what I'm trying to do with this card. Later on, you will see what I'm trying to do with this card, and I'll make a callback to it. But for now, this is just a board wipe that can flip into a creature. So I like it. I think it's worth running in the deck, especially because of one specific card in here. And then here is Toxic Deluge. This is sort of your bread and butter removal spell in black. There's almost no reason, if you don't have one, you don't have to run it, but you know, if you have one, there's no reason not to run it. It is a 3 mana. As an additional cost to this spell, pay X life. All creatures get -X until the end of turn. This is probably one of the simplest, most effective board wipes you can get out there. The only thing that rivals this are things like Tragic Arrogance and like other like more effective board wipes that cost a lot more mana than this. Obviously Blasphemous Act is also a competitor, but this is putting negative counters on things. This is like getting around Indestructible. This is only 3 mana, and then you're paying like 5 to 10 life into it, which in Commander is not bad. In other formats that have like a 20 life thing, this is a lot harder to justify, but those creatures tend to be a lot smaller. So this is just in every format, just a good board wipe to have around. And then next thing we're gonna do are our draw spells. Grab all the relevant draw spells. There we go. Without showing them off yet. So here's what I start. This is when I started to let the voices win. I'm gonna be real with you. One of these cards in particular, I definitely did not need in the deck. However, I really wanted it, and I'm gonna show you right now what it is as soon as I can actually get the name of it. It is there we go. Okay. Whap. All right. So first card. What the fuck is this thing? Well, first off, this is like a sick ass card, so excuse you. But there it is. What is it? Consecrated Sphinx. This is a fucking bomb. This is not only a bomb of a card, the art is so sick looking. Look at this dude. This fucking heavenly body Sphinx just chilling. This thing is so cool. I love this card. This is just something that didn't have to be in the deck, but I wanted it in the deck because of how sick this looks. And the justification for it is that it's a creature that I can mutate onto. Like, that's all I need. That's all I needed as a justification for this card. But realistically, I did not need this. I really wanted this though. So this is a 4/5/6 6-mana creature. It has flying. Whenever an opponent draws a card, or whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. So if you've never fought against a consecrated Sphinx, This card can get very annoying very quickly. And it's almost a lightning rod. This is very much a lightning rod for your opponent. So they're trying their hardest to get rid of this. And honestly, this is just my favorite art version of it. Like, I knew when I saw this, I was just gonna have to get it. Like, there was like, really wasn't any two ways about it. Thankfully, it didn't cost that much, but it cost a lot. It cost a lot when, it cost more than I was willing to pay for a card, but I'm glad I picked it up. So I'm happy to have it. My goodness. What is this song? Can we like take a chill pill? Well, all right. My goodness. So what's the next thing? Next thing is, what is it? Dreamtail Heron. 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 It's a bird. The elemental bird. It costs you 5 mana, but it costs you 4 to mutate. So that's one of the cool things about these cards is that you very rarely cast them for their normal cost. You're normally casting them for the mutate cost. So normally you're just looking at this. So it's 4 mana, flying. Whenever this creature mutates, draw a card. That's just like good, clean draw spell. It gives you a body, and it just looks really cool. That's a sick looking bird. He looks real pissed. Next one is a card I didn't think I was gonna add, but I ended up actually really liking it. The more I looked at it, the more I wanted it. The Indominus Rex Alpha. So this was one of those cards where it's like, I wasn't too happy because this is from the Jurassic Park thing. As you can see, not only was it from like not one of my favorite movies, I really didn't like these remakes or the I didn't like these sequels, the Jurassic World stuff, and I wasn't too happy to see the cards come out as a full play set or as a playable set in Magic. But honestly, this card was so good, I just figured, you know what, it's cool. I like it. So it's a 6/6 that costs you, what is it, 5 mana? And it's a dinosaur mutant. So pretty cool, very on flavor. Can we get like a little bit of focus? There we go. Let's see. Man, it's been a while since I've read this card. Okay, let's see. As this creature enters the battlefield, discard any number of creature cards. It enters with flying counters on it if it's a card discarded with a flying counter with a flying. The same is true for basically every other keyword. The ones that we're looking at are Death Touch, Hexproof, Haste, Indestructible, and Trample and Vigilance. So basically, when you cast this, you can discard cards from your hands that have specific keywords you like, and this will enter in with those keywords. And then when this enters the battlefield, draw a card for each counter on it. So you're recycling your hand. So you're giving this keywords and you're cycling your hand out for different cards. So for 5 mana, 6/6 with a ton of keywords, very good. Very nice to have in Mutate deck. Here is the Mystic Remora. Mystic Remora. There we go. It took a second. It's a 1 mana enchantment, cumulative upkeep of 1. Whenever the opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 4. Nobody's gonna pay the 4. They are desperate or just angry at you. You've made an enemy if somebody pays 4. That is all I have to say. Because normally you throw this on the field for 1, you let it go around the table, you draw your cards, and then you let it die. Maybe you could pay for the upkeep, but realistically, you're just going to draw cards for the 1 rotation, and that's basically it. And if you can tell, the art, it's awesome. This is probably one of the best arts for Mystic Remora. I love the callback to the fish. I love like the spirit lady there. She looks really cool. This whole art series was just sick. Was this Kellogg's? Yeah, it was Kellogg's. Kellogg's did this, so no wonder why I like it. Kellogg's does some awesome art for Magic. Parcel Beast. Parcel Beast is another meh card, but you know the art looks fine, so I put it into the deck. It mutates for 2 mana, and then for 1 generic, you tap it, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield. If you don't put that card onto the battlefield, put it into your hand. So this will slowly ramp you. It will slowly draw you cards. It is good. It's good. It's okay what it does. It's a pretty low mana investment. You know, a 2/4 for 2 mana. Pretty good. Pretty good effect. Look at this goof. I love this little goofy guy. There we go. Baby Godzilla. Ruin Reborn. It's such... Look at that face. Come on. Can't tell me you don't love that face. Come on. Let's focus. There we go. Cute little guy. So what's he do? Why do I have this? It's actually Polywog Symbiote. That's the original card. The original card's ugly. This one's so cute. This is a creature frog for 2 mana. Each creature spell you cast costs 1 less to cast if it has mutate. So this is reducing the cost of all your mutate cards by one generic, which is nothing to laugh at. You know, that's nothing to sneeze at. You kind of need that discounting in this kind of deck. But whenever you cast a creature spell, if it has mutate, draw a card, then discard a card. So this is ramp. This is card cycling. You're not really mutating onto this unless you can find a reason to mutate onto it. But realistically, it's a Godzilla card that actually is pretty decent. It's pretty decent in the deck. Here's a nifty one. Sea Dasher Octopus. This is another really fun card because it has flash in it. So you can cast this at instant speed and do a gotcha. So it's a mutate. Mutate for 2 mana. 2 mana, that's really good for a flash. For a creature with flash, it has whenever this creature deals combat damage to the player, draw a card. So what's fun, as if you can guess, if you attack with your commander and it connects, you can all of a sudden flash this onto your commander, and then all of a sudden you're drawing and discarding, you're drawing cards now. So it's like, holy cow, I just got free value out of this card for basically no downsides. I actually do recommend this if you have a budget deck, because this card's like maybe a couple of pennies. If you're running on a budget and you need a decent draw spell, this is actually like a really good gotcha draw spell that has a 2/2 on it. So you're getting really good stats for 2 mana. 2 mana with flash. You get to draw a card if you connect, which obviously you're playing this if you're going to connect to your opponent. If you're going to hit your opponent, you're playing this, essentially. So really good gotcha card. I recommend this in actually a lot more decks. Next card. Godzilla, what is it? Primal Champion, I believe the name. It's a ton of mana to cast. 7, 8, 9. That's 9 mana. 9 mana, you are not casting this. I don't care who you are. For 9 mana, this is a very tough pill to swallow. I would be very, very upset to cast this for 9 mana. Normally, I'm trying to reanimate this from the graveyard because it has trample and it has cycling. Cycling basically means that if you pay the cycling cost, you can discard this from your hand and you get to draw a card. So you're basically replacing it. It's cycling itself, hence the name cycle. When you cycle this, put a trample counter on target creature you control. I forget about that ability all the time. So a lot of times I will end up just giving Spacegodzilla another trample counter, which he already has trample, so he doesn't need it. But if you play this card smart, you can actually give like something that doesn't have trample and actually be very effective. So great card. Recommended in a lot of decks. Here's our next one. Toski, Bearer of Secrets. 4 mana squirrel. Legend. This was actually one of my first, no, was it? No, it wasn't my first deck. It was one of the decks I put together by myself. Like one of my solo decks where I didn't ask for help or look up videos for. I just threw cards together, and that's who was the head of this deck. That's why I have a very special place in my heart for this guy, because he's one of the first decks that I did put together. But obviously I took it apart because the deck ended up being really strong and I didn't like how strong it was. So boohoo. But it's great in this. It's great in the 99. So for 4 mana, this spell can't be countered. So you're playing this regardless. It's indestructible. This thing's not dying easily. And whenever it attacks, so this attacks each combat if able. So this is basically goated indefinitely. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to the player, draw a card. So whenever a creature, that means any creature deals combat damage. This is going to deal combat damage. That's going to deal combat damage. You're drawing 2 cards. Very good effect. Very strong effect. Especially as the commander. Toski is an incredibly strong generic green leader. Or commander. And even in the 99, this is a great target to mutate on top of. Because all of a sudden, you've given your Spacegodzilla indestructible. And now it's basically always going to attack. Which is not an issue, because you normally want to attack with this thing. And now you're just drawing cards. So, really enjoy Toski. One of my favorite cards in the deck. I'm glad I was able to put it into the 99 of that. So here's the other Spacegodzilla, Death Corona. It is Void Beckoner. 6, 7, 8. 8 mana, Death Touch, cycling 3. And then it has the same effect that if you cycle this, you give something a Death Touch counter. This is actually much better, because then you're giving Spacegodzilla Death Touch, and you're not accidentally giving it another trample. You're not giving it super trample, because it doesn't do anything. So very cool. I actually really like this card a lot. I think it looks sick. If this could have been my leader, probably would have been. But honestly, for 8 mana, ugh, really tough to summon. Let's see. There we go. What? Make sure there's no spoilers on my screen. I'm starting to burn through these a little bit quicker, but I can definitely tell my voice is getting more hoarse. Ooh. And I can definitely tell that I'm slurring or mumbling. I don't even know if I'm mumbling, but mumbling, slurring my words. This is quite the challenge. I don't know how people do this normally. So here's the next card. Also, this camera is like the bane of my existence right now, because it never wants to focus on anything I put in front of it. I might have to just leave it on manual focus. So Arcane Signet. I think we all know what Arcane Signet does. It's a 2 mana mana rock that adds 1 mana of any color that your commander has. So this is just generic good stuff. Also, like, you didn't notice, this is such a nice printing of Arcane Signet. It's a secret layer that looks so awesome. The foiling is phenomenal. I wish we could get more foiling like this. So sick. Danny, you've outdone yourself with this set. I really love that card. I have more of those. Or I have the secret layer of that deck. I have more of that secret layer in my other decks. There we go. We eventually got there. So, oh man, this one's gonna be a hard one to pronounce. Arithmetic, or Arixmethix, Mythis, something like that. Arithmetics, Slumbering Isles. Ugh, God, what a mouthful. It's a 4 mana creature. It's a Kraken. This enters the battlefield tapped with 5 slumber counters on it. Okay, now what else does it do? As long as this has slumber counters on it, it's a land. So you're paying 4 mana to play a land. You don't normally do that, but you know, you do it for a reason. Whenever you cast a spell, you may remove a slumber counter from this. And then this taps for 2 mana Simic. So if you remember earlier, actually, I'll just pull the card out. Here we go. We're making a callback. Callback to Marchesa. So Marchesa, this is the first time we're going to see Marchesa do something. So if you manage to get the battle off and you get Marchesa on the field, you swing in with Marchesa, you're going to start removing slumber counters. You're going to remove all the slumber counters, and then all of a sudden you have a 12/12 for 4 mana that all of a sudden your commander on top of. This is still your commander, because this is all seen as one card, I believe, if I'm correct. This is all one card, so this is still your commander, and all of a sudden your commander has trample and it has 12/12. So I really like this. This is so sick. This was a semi-recent addition to the deck. I was pretty hesitant on it. However, once I realized that these 2 cards kind of combo with each other, it kind of gave me more, put my mind at ease at putting this card into my deck and this one into my deck. So really good. really good rap spell. We'll leave Marchesa to the side because she'll come back in a minute. Birds of Paradise. I think we all know what Birds of Paradise does. It taps for any color. It has flying and it's a 1/1/0/1 for 1 mana. So just really good ramp if you're in green. Speaking of which, Delighted Halfling. This is, what is it? A Cavern of Souls on a body, I believe. Because this is 1 green. You can tap it for generic. And then, or you can tap it, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a legendary spell. And that spell can't be countered. So, hello? Cast your commander. Can't counter your commander. Easy include into any deck that is green. Especially if your commander is as important as this one is. So, auto include. I'm surprised this is not in more decks. I don't see it. I don't see that very often across the table. Here's another one. What is it? Kinnan? Bonder Prodigy, I believe is the name. It's a human. What's a human doing in this deck? It's 2 mana. That's pretty good. This card is in here because it's just like, just generically good. There's not a lot of reasons not to run him. I was able to get him because, as you can tell, he came with the one of the secret layer precons. So he came in, I forgot which one he came in. I believe he came in the 5-color one, the 5-color precon deck that secret layer released not that long ago. And what does he do? Whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type to that permanent produced. So this is gonna double your mana dorks, which is good. It's the whole reason why it's in here. For 7 mana, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a non-human creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest to the bottom of your library in a random order. For 7 mana, getting to tutor a non-human creature from the top of your deck is pretty big. It works super well with this deck because this deck is basically running like 1 actual human, I think. No, well, 2 humans. Marchesa is also a human. So you're really, honestly, you're not gonna whiff with this. So don't worry about that. You're going 5 cards deep. Chances are you're gonna see a creature. The creature count on this, I believe, is something like 30 plus creatures in this deck, so you'll be fine. You can cast this, get a free creature on the board, or you can just let it sit there and let your mana dorks do more work. Migrate Greathorn. This is a very ugly card. There are no 2 ways about it. The standard version is ugly. The showcase is ugly. This is just an ugly. This dude's just ugly. I'm very sorry, Greathorn. You're just a nasty dude. So for 3 mana, you can mutate this. Whenever this creature mutate, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Generic ramp. This doesn't do anything out of the ordinary. The nice thing is that, you know, once you play it, you can mutate onto this a couple of times and you'll get to search a couple of basics. But yeah, it's just a showcase version. It's an alt art, so it looks cool. I mean, it's in the cool art style. It doesn't actually look that cool. I think this is one of the uglier ones, but it's in the deck, so I'm cool with it. Nature's Lore. 2 mana sorcery spell. Search your library for a forest card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Holy cow, this is just strong. You're looking for a forest, so anything that has the type forest in it is grabbable. So you can grab your tiles, you can grab dual lands, fetch lands, any kind of lands that have the forest name in it. And then also, it doesn't say anything about playing it tapped. So you're playing that land untapped, which is great. For 2 mana, that's pretty strong. Speaking of strong, we have Soul Ring. Probably one of the strongest ramp spells in the game so far. Very few contend against it. So for 1 mana, you're getting 2 mana out of this. You're always net positive mana with this card. 3 visits. Another strong sorcery spell. So this is going to search for a forest card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. just as good as Nature's Lore, just in a different art. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. And as you can tell, it's in a cool secret layer font or art. So this is a Elder Giant, and it has, when this enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. The escape is down here. So for 4 mana, you can exile 5 other cards from your graveyard, and this thing has officially escaped. You can only cast the escape from your graveyard. So this is essentially a sorcery spell until it hits your graveyard. Then once it's in your graveyard, you can cast it for its escape cost, and then it can just sit there as a big body. So super cool. It's a 6 mana, or no, 6 power, 6 toughness for either 3 or 4 mana. Really, you're casting the 3 because you're just gonna do the, whenever this enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life, you draw a card, then you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. That is, what is it, Growth Spiral? Growth Spiral on a body, on a very big body too. It's 6/6, is nothing to sneeze at. And in this art version, just looks awesome. See if we can get like a nice close-up look to it. The Kaldheim stuff was so cool. I'm so glad that they did this secret layer with the what are these? I forgot the name of the set these guys originally came out in. They were in like the ancient Greek set, where like they had like Hercules and the other gods represented there. But yeah, I'm glad they did this secret layer. This was super cool to get. Come on, buddy. Whatever. It'll sort itself out. There we go. Oh, come on. Can we just get like a little bit of focus here? You know what? Let me turn off the autofocus. Or whatever. Because the thing is, I like going from here, and then I like coming down here. And it doesn't seem to be all that great. We're just going to roll with it. I'll grab the next selection. We're almost done. So bear with me. I know it's been quite the struggle to sit there and watch me show you all my cool cards. But I can understand. I can understand how annoying this can be. But it's okay. You know, you're here for a reason. You want to see the spice. You want to see what spice I'm cooking up. So you will be rewarded with the Baleful Strix. Baleful Strix is just a pretty, sort of like one of the poster childs you see for a mutate card. So for 2 mana, you get a 1/1 creature that has flying, death touch, and whenever this enters the battlefield, you draw a card. So what's nice, you throw this out early, you mutate onto it, and then all of a sudden your Godzilla is flying around, you know, poking stuff to death. It's very cool. So really good poster child. This is a great example of what you should be looking for in a mutate deck. Like what kind of creatures you want to be looking for. Targets you want to be mutating onto. Blight Mamba is the next one that I will show you in a second. There we go. Blight Mamba is a 2 mana creature that has Infect. Infect is the bane of most players' existence. Nobody likes Infect because if you hit them with enough Infect counters, or poison counters, if you hit them with enough poison counters, I believe it's 12, they lose the game. And what's nice about this is that it has 2 mana, regenerate this. So again, we're throwing Spacegodzilla on top of this. We're giving Spacegodzilla Infect, and then if they remove it, we get to bring it back for 2 mana. So awesome target. Real great. Barnyard Lurker is a 4 mana creature that has 4 mana mutate. Whenever this creature mutates, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is great if you want to bring back the cycling cards or anything else that got sent to your graveyard. You just pull it out, and looks cool. There we go. This dude looks so sick. Look at that. He killed someone. He gorged them. He like pierced their head, everything. Dude, this guy's so evil. I like him. He looks cool. Here's another one that's a little bit weird. Cavern Harpy, 2-mana creature, 2/1, terrible stats. However, it has flying. Whenever this comes into play, return a blue or black creature card you control to its owner's hand. So you play this out. You can actually bounce this back to your hand if you really wanted to, but you don't normally want to bounce this. You want to bounce something else back to your hand. And then it has pay 1 life, return this to its owner's hand. So that's really why we're playing it, because it's nice that if in case your mutate stack does get dealt with, you don't have to put any mana into recovering it, because all you have to do is just pay 1 life, and then you're bouncing your entire mutate stack back into your hand, and you'll try again later. So really good safety card, really good for insurance. Like it. Chattering Harvester is a 6 mana creature with 4/6 as a mutate of 5, and it is whenever this creature mutates, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Pretty good. Not bad. Not bad for mutate, but it's just a showcase. Really cool looking card. I have no idea what it is. Normally when you look at these things, you can kind of tell what they're being made up from. Like, well, actually no, Boneyard Lurker is not a good example. But like Sea Dasher Octopus, you can tell it's an octopus. Chattering Harvester is just some kind of weird abomination of who knows what the hell is going on in there. He's got a lot going on his plate. I have no idea what. But pretty okay card. Oh boy. Here's another one of those cards. Japanese cards. So let us refer to the cheat sheet that I have here. This is Mechagodzilla. I can tell you that much. But this is also Crystalline Giant. In case you didn't know, Crystalline Giant, aka Mechagodzilla, the weapon, is a 3-mana creature. Well, artifact creature actually. It's a giant, and it says, oh yeah, I remember this guy. Okay, he's got a lot to say. So, at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose a kind of counter at random that Crystalline Giant doesn't have on it, from among flying, first strike, death touch, hexproof, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, vigilance, and 1/1. Put a counter of that kind on Crystalline Giant. So this is keyword the soup card. It's Mechagodzilla, and actually it works super well with Spacegodzilla, because you can give Spacegodzilla hexproof, you can give it reach, you can give it flying, first strike. Like, these are not things to ignore when you're trying to mutate on top of or underneath or on top of Spacegodzilla. So he actually worked super well for the deck, and I'm very happy we got him. So who's our next one? Ooh, Dark Depths. This is another fun one, and another one why I run Marchesa. This is actually the main reason why I run Marchesa in this deck. So this is a legendary snowland, irrelevant because it doesn't tap for mana. So that's why it's in the strategy part of the deck and not the land base. So, oh man, my throat, help me. When this enters the battlefield, with 10 ice counters on it. So ouch, because to remove an ice counter, you have to pay 3 mana, remove an ice counter from this. When this has no ice counters on it, sacrifice it. If you do, create Marie Lodge, a legendary 2020 black avatar creature token with flying and indestructible. Holy cow, what a payoff. You're making a 2020 black avatar token that can fly and is also indestructible. And with Marchesa, if you can flip Marchesa and attack with Marchesa, you can remove all of those counters on Dark Depths and basically get a 2020 in return. My god. And of course I have the Thespian stage combo with this as well. So I I have won a few games, to say the least, with Dark Depths. This is such a fun card. I love just playing this onto the field and watching your opponents sweat. Just because they know you're up to something. And yes, you are. You're 100% up to something. Yes. Trying to shake my head. Again, here's another poster child for the mutate strategy. Elusive Tormentor is a 4-mana creature, vampire wizard. For 1 mana, you can discard a card and then transform this. So why are we transforming this? What is the point? Well, the point is that it on its backside is actually the best side, because it is Insidious Mist. Insidious Mist is a elemental with hexproof and indestructible. It also can't be blocked, or it can't block and can't be blocked. Whenever this attacks and isn't blocked, you may pay 3. If you do, transform it. You're never going to do the last part. So basically, it's an unblockable, hexproof, indestructible creature, which 0/1, that's not an issue. 6/6, that's an issue. Turning your Spacegodzilla into a hexproof, indestructible, unblockable mist is so cool. That is so fun. I love that. One of my favorite ways to win the game is using this card, and I've been really lucky. I see this a lot. Like, honestly, sometimes I feel like I just tutor this card out, like just by pure luck. This card always ends up in my hand at some point in the game. I'm very happy to see it. So love that card. Definitely not getting cut for any reason. Glade Cover Scout is a 1/1 for 1 mana, and it has hexproof. Just another thing to mutate onto. Good card. Here's a fun one. Again, Cyberclaw Terror. So 4, 5, 6, 6 mana. Holy cow, Demon Kraken. This is so on flavor. I love this card so much. Come on, I want to show the fans. Come on. See if we can get this. There we go. Look at him. This dude is so sick looking. So what does he do? He can be a companion. I refuse to make him a companion. Actually, I thought about it for the demon deck. I went against it. So when this enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So this is kind of like a what is the name of that card? The red dinosaur, Atali. It's very it's Atali adjacent. So it's very fun. You get to just play stuff for free. You get to play a lot of stuff for free. So is it 1 card? Put a creature card. So it's only 1 card. You're going to grab one thing with an even mana cost and put it onto your battlefield. Pretty good effect. Sick looking card. And it's a 6/6. So good stats. Not upset by that at all. Here's another one that I struggle with the phrasing or the name. Let's see. This is Hadana's Climb, I believe. For 3 mana, it's a legendary enchantment. And it says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Then, if that creature has 3 or more 1/1 counters on it, transform this. So, chances are you're going to transform this pretty quick, even if you have no counters, which normally I don't have counters. But within 3 turns, you're going to be able to transform this into a land. And it is Winged Temple of Orazek, I believe. It's a legendary land. It adds 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, or you can pay 3 mana and tap this. Target creature you control gains flying and gets a X plus X until the end of turn, where X is its power. That's pretty good. If your creature doesn't have flying, all of a sudden it gets to fly and swing in for a big number. Definitely not a bad card to have in the deck. But normally I don't suggest letting your opponents keep this on the field. So sometimes it can be a good card, sometimes it's not. And then here's our next one. Mechagodzilla Battle Fortress is an XX artifact creature with 0 power and 0 toughness. So you can't pay 0 for this. You have to at least pay 1 or 2, I believe. And it has, this enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. When this creature dies, create 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying for each 1/1 counter on this creature. And then you can pay 1, tap it, put a 1/1 counter on this. So this is great, because obviously You can pay 1 mana into this and then mutate onto it. And then if for whatever reason Space Godzilla dies, you're gonna make 6/6 flying. You're gonna make 6 flying copters. So good card. Great Godzilla card. And then our next one, Ivy, Gleeful Spell Thief. This is another one you will normally see in most mutate decks, because what it does is for 2 mana, it has flying, which not a big deal. The 2/1, okay stats. Whenever a player casts a spell that, whenever a player casts a spell that targets only a single creature other than this creature, you may copy that spell. The copy targets Ivy. So, why is that important? Well, because your mutate cards are spells, because you're casting them from your hands, they're spells, and they are targeting a single creature. So, let's say, let's say I'm playing Space Godzilla, I'm targeting Mecha Godzilla. Ivy sees that and then makes a copy of Space Godzilla for itself. So now I have 2 Space Godzillas on 2 separate creatures. That is fun. That's a very fun thing to do. Come on, there we go. So yeah, Ivy is great in a mutate deck because you basically get double the value for each mutate card you have. Bum, 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 bum. So our next card, Journey to Eternity. It is the legendary enchantment aura. Enchant creature you control. When enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. Then you get to transform this. Wait, yeah. Then return this to the battlefield, transformed under your control. So it's great because it gets to save your card. If your creature dies, this brings it back, and then it comes back transformed. Which, look how sick that looks. That's some crazy looking like 80s art. Like an album cover or like a vinyl cover. Awesome. Azul, Cave of Eternity is what I believe that says. Legendary creature, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Pay 3 and then 1 black, 1 green. Tap it, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a reanimate. Awesome. It's a reanimate on a land that doesn't immediately kill itself, because this you can basically keep paying mana into it and keep bringing back creatures from the graveyard. Awesome card. I'm really happy I was able to get this. Super worth it. It makes everything in your deck just a lot harder to remove. So this actually I would recommend in most decks. Oh no. Our nemesis. More Japanese cards that I willingly bought and now have to read. But what is this card, you ask? Well, I'll tell you, because I believe it's, what is it? Mothra's Giant Egg? Is I believe the name of it? I'll double check for you though. This is, yeah, Mothra's Giant Cocoon. It is actually Mysterious Egg. And this is an egg. This is one of the egg cards. And it says, whenever this creature mutates, put a 1/1 counter onto it. Okay. Oh, I recognize this song. Hang on. This is from the Spider game, right? Is this from the Spider? No, Super Mario Galaxy. My bad. I'm used to hearing that song with from one of, like, literally I think it was my first clip I ever edited had this song in it, and now it's like, so it's very nostalgic to me. But enough of that. So what's this doing in the deck? Literally, this is just here because it's a Godzilla card. It's Mothra's Giant Cocoon. Like, do you need more of a reason? If I could put Mothra in this deck, I would, but I can't. So I will put its egg in here. I'll put the cocoon in here and be happy. Needle Spectre. Needle Spectre is a 3-mana creature with flying, and it has Wither. What's Wither? Wither gives negative counters. If you attack a creature with it, it gives it negative counters instead of damage. And then if you actually attack someone with this creature, it deals okay, so whenever this deals combat damage to a player, that player discards that many cards. So you're eating cards out of your opponent's hands if you mutate onto this. So very big deal. People don't like this card because it's one of those nasty cards. speaking of nasty cards, we have Phyrexian Crusader. Is a 3-mana zombie knight. That has first strike, protection from red and from white. So basically the colors that we don't have in the deck. And then it also has Infect, which if you don't remember Infect, Infect is real nasty. So great mutate target, gives you a lot of protection from stuff, specifically from white. White has some of the best removal, in my opinion. White has some of the strongest removal in the game. So it's nice to be protected from that, while also getting Infect counters. This is Reanimate. Reanimate is a 1-drop. Well, it literally is a Reanimate spell. So for 1 black, put a target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its mana value. Really cool, because then you can just yoink this out of your graveyard. You don't have to pay any mana to yoink it out of your graveyard. Just an overall good Reanimate spell. I mean, it is literally what is the strategy called, Reanimate. That's why it's called Reanimate. Oh my guys, I'm dying. This is killing me. Talking this much hurts. Silhana Ledgewalker is a 2-mana elf that has hexproof, and this can't be blocked except by creatures with flying. So pretty cool. It's pseudo flying with hexproof. Really useful. Slippery Boggle. Here's a classic. One of the boogeymen of like old formats. For 1 mana, this can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents can't control. Or your opponents control. So it's hexproof. It has hexproof. Pseudo hexproof. Basically hexproof without the keyword hexproof. Spider Umbra. 1 mana. 1 green mana. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets a 1/1 and has reach. Pretty useful if you want to deal with flyers. But the reason why I'm running this is because it has Totem Armor. Totem Armor is that if the creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. So this is kind of like a get out of jail for free card. Let's see, what is that? Tyrannex Rex, I believe. 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 mana. It's a Phyrexian dinosaur. There we go. Look at this guy. Looks awesome. So what does it do for what is it? 6, 4, 5, 6, 7 for 7 mana. This spell can't be countered. It has Trample, Ward 4, and Haste, and it has Toxic 4. Players deal combat damage by this creature also get 4 poison counters. And then we already know what poison counters like. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Oh boy. So Toxic is like a slightly friendlier version of Infect. And then on top of that, it has Ward 4. Ward 4 is basically a friendlier version of Hexproof, but it's essentially Hexproof because, again, nobody wants to pay mana to destroy something. So if you target this with any kind of spell, if you target it with, I believe, a spell or an ability, you have to pay an extra 4 mana to do so. And nobody got the time for that. So normally it's Hexproof. Oh boy. Urborg Scavengers. Urborg Scavenger is a 3/3 or 3 mana for 2/2. Whenever this enters the battlefield or attacks, exile a target card from a graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on this. And then this has flying as long as a card exile with this has flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. My goodness. Was I happy to see this card spoiled. When what is it? All Will Be One. When All Will Be One was spoiled, I knew exactly where these little goobers were gonna go. These little men were gonna end up in this deck. Because holy cow. Graveyard Hate plus keywords? Yes, please. And like basically all the relevant keywords too. Indestructible, Hexproof, Death Touch, Double Strike, hello? Yes, please, more. Can you be any better? Thank you. Thank you for existing, Herbivorous Scavengers. Oh, here's another fun one. Again, if you didn't watch the last stream, the Doctor Who cards kind of left me traumatized a little because they sometimes only work with themselves. Also, this one's a really hard one to pronounce. It is, hang on, let me actually get the thing up in there. As you can see, it's the search foil. Woo! And it is Vashta Nerada. Vashta Nerada. That's the best explanation. That's the best pronunciation you're gonna get out of me. So for 3 mana, it's an alien horror. It has shadow and indestructible. If you don't know what shadow does, shadow creatures are unblockable except by other shadow creatures, I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what that keyword is essentially. And then it has morbid at the beginning of each end step. If a creature died this turn, put a 1/1 counter on this. So super cool Doctor Who card. I was lucky enough to kind of pick this up when it was cheap, and now people are starting to realize that this is actually pretty good. So I'm glad I was able to get it in search foil before the prices got out of hand. Veil Secrecy. What? Sacrecy. Veil of Sacrecy. There we go. We got there. So for 2 mana, it's an instance arcane. That is something you don't see. The arcane part of this is irrelevant because we're just casting it for the first part, which, if we can ever see it, it is target creature is unblockable and can't be the target of spells or abilities this turn. For 2 mana, that's pretty good. And then it has Splice onto Arcane. Return blue creature card you control to its owner's hand, and then you can splice this onto something else. Splice cards. Interesting mechanic. Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing them again. But the arcane stuff, a little harder to understand, but however, we're just casting this as an instance. We're giving something unblockable, and we're also giving it hexproof for 2 mana. Nothing to sneeze at. Very good card. Here's one of the Warhammer cards. Venomthrope. That's what this is. It's a Tyrannid. For 3 mana, it's a 2/2. It has flying, death touch, and hexproof. All keywords we want to see on this deck. So, love it. And then this is Will o' the Wisp. Will o' the Wisp is a 1 mana flying creature that has, for 1 black, regenerate this. The Will o' the Wisp is quite a good card. Very good mutate card for the Will o' the Wisp. Alright, give me a second. Blech. Let's actually switch soundtracks. Now that we're onto the lands. I don't suspect the lands are going to take that long to burn through. However, I always want to. Hang on, let me adjust the volume for this. Because this is actually going to be a little bit quiet. There we go. If you're interested in the soundtrack again, this is from the 24 Killers soundtrack. Indie game. Awesome game. Soundtrack is a 10 out of 10. The actual game is like a 9 out of 10. I really enjoy it. It's a very lovely story. I actually like to play it on stream at some point. My friend Goofy showed it to us when she was streaming it, and I really liked it. It's still a game. It's one of those games that kind of lingers in the back of your head after a while, like that and Yokai Watch. Yokai Watch and 24 Killers are 2 games that are like just linger in the back of my mind that I think about almost not every day, but I think about maybe like once a month. I think about those games, think about how good they are, how much I enjoyed watching them, and like the memories you make along the way. It's a fun game. I highly recommend them. I recommend both of those games actually, if you haven't played them. So, oh boy, we're getting into the lands. Agadeem's Awakening. This is a one of those NDFC lands. However, this is the mythic ones. So the mythic ones are different in a way because Agathine's Undercrypt is a kind of like a pain land. So let me read what it does. It enters the battlefield. You may pay 3 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped, and then it just taps for a black. So it's really cool because, like, if you have the mana or if you have the life, you could just let this come in untapped. But if you have the mana to cast for its sorcery, you actually get like a really bombastic spell out of this. Like, seriously, these things are so worth the money. So for 3 black X, you get a sorcery spell. Can we get a bit of a focus? Hello, camera? This camera sucks, man. So return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards that each have a different converted mana cost of X or less. So what is this? It's like Liliana's Awakening, I believe, is the counter, is the inspiration for this spell. So yeah, you pay X. Each have a different converted mana cost of X or less. So just a mass reanimate spell. Very nice to have. However, 90% of the time you're just going to play this as a land. And sometimes you're going to pay the life to play it untapped. So really nice. Ancient Tomb. My god. What a great card. Tap, add 2, and then this deals 2 damage to you. So you get 2 generic mana, or 2 wingdings, and it deals 2 damage to you. Great card for ramp. Here's Balagade Recovery. There we go. This is a sorcery. Well, it's actually a land, but we're going to show you the sorcery first. So for 3 mana, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Really great, like pseudo reanimate. Pull something out of your graveyard, and then if you don't need to do that, you just get a tap land. So super good card. Really like that. I love the MDFC lands. What are you doing in here? Here's swamp. So there's the swamps. Hold on. Oh, that's because I have this flipped. So next card, Bosenju, Who Endures. Ooh, mama, what a spell. What a land. Now, when you talk legendary lands, this is what I'm talking about. Look at that. I wish I could have got the showcase version of this, but holy cow. We were able to pull this from packs, and I was so happy. I think we got this from a bundle. So super stoked to get this. So tap for green. This is just a regular tap land. Just you tap this for green, you're good to go. However, you can channel this for 2 mana. Come on, let's focus. Let's focus on me, not on the playmat. You stupid thing. So what does this do? It is 2 mana, discard this. Destroy target artifact or enchantment or non-basic land an opponent controls. That player may search the library for a land card with a basic land type, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Whew, what a mouthful. So for... It's kind of like, what was that removal spell that we showed you a little bit earlier? It was Nature's Lore. This is kind of like a Nature's Lore on a land. So that's one of the main reasons why this is so expensive. Because this is such a powerful ability just on your land base. So good. Love Bosenju. Here is a breeding pool. This is just a land that taps. Let's see. When this enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, this enters the battlefield tap. So it's a pain land, or what is it, a shock land, I believe is what it's called. It has 2 named types, so it's a forest or an island. Normally you can search for a forest, so this is great to search for. It enters the battlefield on tap if you pay the 2 life. Really handy, great color fixer. Cavern of Souls. Cavern of Souls. Enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. We're going to choose Beast. This taps for 1 wingding, or you can add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells of the chosen type, and that spell can't be countered. So this is you're basically going to name Beast. Going to protect your commander from getting, you know, wiped out immediately. Good card to have. our next one. Command Beacon. Another great protection spell for your commander. So it is just tap for colorless. Sacrifice Command Beacon. Put your commander into your hand from the command zone. So get out of jail free card, kind of for your command tax. Always nice to have. And then here's the counterpart, Command Tower. And the amazing foiling and art style. This is a... You're probably very used to seeing Command Tower. You probably know what this card does. Add 1 mana of any color to your in your commander's color identity. Oh my gosh. We gotta be able to talk. There you go. There's Command Tower. Great land. Awesome art. Okay, so this is probably where things get a little controversial as far as the mana base is concerned. A lot of people are not going to be playing the bounce lands in their expensive land base. I like the bounce lands. They're a nice way to like go up on mana, sort of go up on mana, color fixed a little bit. I think they're good. I don't hate them, and I do like the style. I do like the art style. This is the Mirror one, the Mirror Aqueduct. And then I believe, I'm pretty sure I have all the other ones. I have the other two. Here is Dranith's Ruins. This is a tap for colorless mana. Or you can pay 2, tap this, put 2 1/1 counters on target non-human creature that enter the battlefield this turn. This card's okay. It has the Ikoria style, alt art style, so that's one of the reasons why I added this to the deck. It's an okay tap land, or it's an okay land. That's what I'll give it. Will occasionally buff your creatures, but chances are it's just going to be a colorless land. Here is Golgari Rot Farm. Here is the Golgari version of a bounce land. Very good card. I don't even think I read the Aqua Duck one. So this enters the battlefield tap. Pretty bad. When this enters the battlefield, return a land card you control to its owner's hand. This is rough. Oh, so let me show you why I like running the bounce lands. Because a lot of times the bounce lands do kind of go up with mana. Your mana equal. Your mana, what is it? Not mana positive. Your mana neutral with them. If you play your cards right, you are mana neutral with them. However, with things like Agatha's Awakening, if you play Agatha's Awakening as a land, you can use your bounce lands to bounce your spells, your NDFC lands, back to your hands, and you can cast the spell. Like, that's the main, that's like the actual reason I play these. If you play NDFCs, I would recommend at least, at the very minimum, at least play one of these bounce lands. You're not going to like it. It's going to feel really bad. The way you want to play these things is that, so you have your land and you draw this, right? You draw this for your land for turn. This is all you have for lands. What you want to do is you want to tap this, leave your mana floating, and then play your bounce land for turn, bouncing your land back to your hand. However, you still have the mana from this land on the field. So you've essentially, you're mana neutral so far. So don't feel too bad about playing a bounce land. They're very good if you have MDFCs in your deck. And that is my justification for having them. That's the real justification for having them. Juari, what is this? Juari Disruption. We saw this with the last deck. This is a counter spell that your opponent can pay 1 to counter it. However, this is mostly a gotcha counter spell, so ideally your opponent will not see it coming. And I mean, of course, it is also a tap land that taps for blue. This enters the battlefield tapped, and it taps for 1 blue. However, sometimes if it's in your hand, you will play it for its counterspell. Here is Lanyard Waste. It is a land that enters in untapped. It taps for 1 generic. or it can tap for either a black or a green, and then it does 1 damage to you. Really great if you're trying to color fix. If you're strapped for colors, this will fix you for a price, of course. Malakuri Rebirth, another MDFC land that I really like playing. We saw this in the last deck, I believe. Choose target creature, you lose 2 life until the end of your turn. That creature gains whenever this creature dies. Return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Sort of like life insurance for a creature card. However, what's nice is that it's a land. This is just a tap land. 90% of the time this will just be a tap land. Occasionally it will be a protection spell. The next one is Nurturing Peatland. This is I forget the name of these lands, but basically it taps, pay 1 life, add either black or green to your mana pool, or you can pay 1, sacrifice this, draw a card. Super versatile cards. I really like these. I wish they were to make more of these. However, we're not done with the cycle yet, so hopefully we'll see the rest of them. Next card is Ottawa Soaring City. Ottawa Soaring City. Come on, let's see it. Go on then. Bro, what's your binge? Sorry. Come on, show me the card, damn it. There you go. Tap for 1 blue, channel. Pay 3 and a blue. Discard this. Return target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to its owner's hand. This ability costs 1 less active for each legendary creature you control. Great bounce spell, great removal. I like this card a lot. I wish I had the showcase in here. Again, another one where the showcase would have been really nice to get. Overgrown Tomb. This is a swamp and a forest. You can search for it the majority of the time. When this enters the battlefield, when it comes into play, you may pay 2. If you don't, this enters in the battlefield tap. So it's a land that you can pay 2 life to untap it when it enters the battlefield. Oh, here's an interesting one. Hanith Anun. Hanith Anun. It's a Reflecting Pool. Reflecting Pool is you tap it, you add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. So semi color fixing. As long as you have 1 of the 3 lands, you can tap that for the color as well. Seagate Restoration. Here's another one of those mythic NDFC lands. So 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Holy cow, that's a strong ability. And then, of course, because it's a mythic MDFC land, it can enter the battlefield untapped if you pay 3 life. Seagate Reborn. Great card. Simic Growth Chambers. Here's the Simic version of the bounce lands. Ooh. Takanuma Abandoned Mire. Now here's the showcase I have. And my god, what a card. This is such a beautiful looking card. I really love the showcase versions of these Kawagama lands. So it is tap 1 black, or you can channel this for 3 and a black. You discard this card, mill 3 cards, then return a creature planeswalker card from your graveyard, a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. So really good pseudo reanimate. If you're in a pinch, you can drag something out of your graveyard back to your hand. Here is Thespian Stage to combo off with oh gosh, Dark Depths, I believe. So it is, there's Thespian Stage, tapped for colorless. Pay 2, tap this. This becomes a copy of target land, except it has this ability. So really cool. This, when you play your Dark Depths, you play this. This enters the battle. Wait, no. it's the other way around. You play Thespian Stage, then you play Dark Depths, then you pay to tap this to become Dark Depths, and then this in return has no counters on it, therefore it immediately sacrifices itself and becomes the 2020 avatar. If I remember the sequence right, that's how this works. Here is turn to what is it? Come on. You were focused for like half a second. Hello. Hello. Can we look at the card? There you go. Turn Chamber of Symbiosis. 4, 5, 6, 7 mana sorcery. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. If that creature card has converted mana cost of 3 or less, it enters with 3 additional 1/1 counters on it. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. It's another mythic NDFC land that flips. Turn Timber Serpentine Wood. It is, you pay 3 life. You pay 3 life to untap this, to enter the battlefield untap, and then it taps for a green. Great card. Run NDFCs, they're good. Waterlogged Grove. Here's another one of those cards where you can pay mana to tap it for a color, or you can pay 1, tap it, sacrifice it, draw a card. Great utility. Love those cards. Always useful to play. Here is Watery Grave. Watery Grave is a named land. However, this one arguably you can probably not run because it doesn't have a forest. Normally, you can only search for a forest card in these decks or in Commander. Most searchers for ramp searchers can normally find a forest. It's pretty rare that you can search for an island or a swamp. However, you can pay 2 life and it enters the battlefield untapped. So just generically good card. Here is Yamamaya Coast. It taps for a colorless, or you can tap it for a green or blue, and then it deals 1 damage to you. We're almost done, guys. We're actually really close. So Zagroth Triumph is your 3-color tap land. Enters the battlefield tapped, and then you can cycle it for 3. Here's another awesome looking showcase version from Ikoria. Man, honestly, I think this was one of my favorite sets to come out. Oh, thank God. We're done. We're into the basics. I run 4 swamps, or 4 forests, and I'm running all of the Infinity showcase lands, because honestly, for a Spacegodzilla themed deck, there's nothing better than these cards. And then I'm running 2 islands, and these are actually not that expensive either. You can run these, if you can buy these pretty easily. These are quite easily available to get. There's the island. Island looks sick. And then of course we have the swamp. Swamp is gonna be probably a little hard to see because it's pretty black. There's a lot of black. Oh no, it actually focused pretty quick onto this. Yeah. Beautiful lands. Even the I forget which showcase versions are. I think the shock lands or the fetch lands. I think the fetch lands are in the Infinity set, and they look amazing. They look just as good as the basics here. So I like Infinity for its lands, for its showcase lands. And the rest of this deck, honestly, is so gorgeous. Like, honestly, Ikoria was my introduction to like buying Magic products and not just watching videos or deck techs or anything like that. Like, Ikoria is when I got into the game proper. And it was because of the Godzilla crossover. Because they have so many cool Godzilla cards and they had so many cool showcase cards in the deck. Honestly, I was a hook, line, sinker. Like, these cards looked so cool just next to each other. Seeing a case full of these, man, I was like a kid in a candy store, dude. I could not help myself. So there's some Magic. My goodness, I think we took about as long as the last one did. We're about an hour and 45 minutes into it, roughly, give or take. We're about the same length. My gosh, man, these decks take a long time to talk about. And I still have 2 more decks to talk about too. So you're gonna get this 2 more times, and then actually we're probably gonna end up going back to One Piece because my decks have all been updated. But oh boy. There we go. Get a little more water in me, man. This really like drains your throat. This really like dries you out talking for so long. And hopefully that was a pretty comprehensible deck list of this whole thing. This deck is pretty old, so it took me a while to remember what it did. It's also pretty easy. I mean, if you understand what mutate is, I think this deck you can pick up and play pretty easily. Once you understand mutate, I think it's pretty straightforward what you're trying to do in this deck, and you're just basically trying to make your commander untouchable and just hit for commander damage. What the heck? Hello? It's a very cute song. We're not here for that. We're not here for that. We're here for just for maxing and vibing and relaxing. Oh my gosh. More voices. No, the voices, they're coming back. Oh. There we go. Let's see if that's like a voiceless song. I just need chill beats to listen to. But yeah, I'm glad I was able to make this deck when I did too, because some of these cards got really expensive over time. And Ikoria was my first introduction to Magic proper. Like, I went out, bought a box, opened up packs, and actually bought singles and stuff like that. Like, when I got, because before that, I was buying stuff off of TCG Player. I was, you know, copying and pasting deck lists I would see online. It was not a very fun time. And then Ikoria came out. All the showcase I wanted to go out because my brother wanted to go participate in the pre-release event, and that was the first pre-release we went to. And Ikoria was the first box he bought, and it came with a bunch of these cool cards, and they're like having a case full of Godzilla cards and like sick looking showcase, like cards that look like this just sitting in the case, was a real magical experience. Like, it was so cool to see this stuff when it was in rotation. And the story of Ikoria wasn't really super interesting, to be honest with you. Though I will say Magic lore back then was still decent. They were at least trying back then. So it wasn't a super complicated story, but it was an interesting story. Nowadays we're kind of like just heroes are just brought back from the dead. They're sent to new lands to witness events that are happening that really at the end of the day don't really amount to much. Like, nothing really happens, like no serious wars, no serious casualties. You're just kind of sending your poster childs to different planes and just having them witness events and coming back unchanged by their events. So I will give Ikoria that. At the very least, it had a story going for it. It was very sad to see the Planeswalker, the guy with the cat, the guy with the tiger. He was I believe he was like one of the few characters who actually did die and like didn't come back after All Will Be One. No, after March of the Machine. No, not March of the Machine. What's the Phyrexian? It's after All Will Be One. Is it after All Will Be One? I don't remember. But the Planeswalker from Ikoria just ended up dying, unfortunately. And we just never got to see him again. He just straight up just died. And there's no signs of him coming back. Not until maybe in the next Ikoria set. But honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. I hope they actually don't. I hope they don't come back to Ikoria, because when they went back to Ixalan, they went back to Ixalan just recently, and it was not a great story. I kind of wish they would have stayed away from it. However, they did get some good cards. They got some good dinosaur cards, some good artifacts, I guess. Nothing I bought. Like, really, the return to Exelon wasn't that bombastic, wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be. Not like the first time. The first time was pretty cool. I don't know a lot about the story, but the first time, you know, vampires, pirates, dinosaurs, all super cool. But yeah, I mean, in my humble opinion, I hope that Wizards kind of leaves Ikoria where it is, because Ikoria had some very interesting mechanics, some very interesting creatures, some okay storylines, and honestly, if they were to return to Ikoria, I kind of hope that they would come back and do more Godzilla crossovers, that they come back and they do more of the of this showcase. I hope they come back to this showcase and don't like do something weird with it. But yeah, there you go. There's the deck list and there's my ranting. Oh, Archesa, get back in there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope this was entertaining. It was a little painful on my voice, I'm not gonna lie. Hopefully tomorrow I will be able to talk. However, that's not a big deal because I don't talk a lot to begin with. So even if my voice is hoarse tomorrow, I don't think it's gonna make that big of a difference. But yeah, I really enjoyed I enjoy doing these deck lists. It's really fun and easy thing I can do. Talking about my favorite cards is very fun for me to do. And even if no one's here, I still enjoy talking about my hobbies to nobody, in the hopes that they make it to somebody who is the least interested. So that's why I continue to do this. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this live or you're watching the VOD, thank you for being a part of this. I hope you liked it. This is my deck. I'm not gonna make any changes to it anytime soon. I feel like I'm actually over capacity. I feel like I've made cuts into this deck that are not optimal for the strategy. However, they're just cards I like. The mana base is actually not that bad. Let me look at the mana curve real quick for you. What is our mana curve looking like? Our mana curve is actually pretty good. We're at 2.4. Wow, okay. You know what? Maybe I know what I'm doing. I'm pretty happy with that. That's actually not a terrible mana curve. Unless they make more cards with more keywords that protect itself, I probably will leave this deck alone and not make any more major upgrades. Or if they actually bring back more Godzilla cards, then you know for a fact I'm making upgrades if they bring back Godzilla cards. But anywho, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and love you and leave you here. And next time we're probably gonna play something new, something different. Who knows? Next time we're playing a video game. That's what I can promise you. And then next time on Magic cards, though, we're gonna be looking at my not second most valuable, but second most, what's the word? Cherished, I guess. Yeah, I think that's a good way. My second most cherished deck. I think that's a good way to talk about these. Is that my least cherished to my most cherished decks. So right now we're kind of like in the middle, where the Bellicor deck could very easily be disassembled and sold off. There's not a whole lot. I like the deck, but you know, if I'm gonna get rid of it, I'm not too sad. I love this deck. I really don't want to get rid of it, but I am also okay if I'm in a bind, if I'm in a cash bind, I will be okay with selling it. And then my next two decks are ones that are very unlikely to get disassembled for any reason, like because they're sentimental. One of them was a gift deck. Like my brother bought the deck for me as a gift for my birthday, so that deck is gonna stay as it is for as long as I can keep it there. And then the last deck is the first deck I ever put together. Like literally, like the first time I bought Magic cards, they went into that deck. And that is kind of like where my journey started. Like before I got interested into Magic, that deck was assembled. So that's kind of like a spoiler, like a little sneak peek to the next two decks, is that they're very sentimental to me. I cherish those decks a lot. And while I love this deck to death, the only sentimental part about this deck is that it has Godzilla cards in it, and I think Godzilla is cool, so I like this deck a lot. But yeah, the next two are going to be very fun. So, all right, enough yapping. I've yapped enough. I will catch you guys later. All right, take care. Goodbye, 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 bye, 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 bye.